Welcome to Crack the Friendship Code. I'm your host, Theodora Voss. My pronouns are her, she, hers. I am seated against a white wall with vinyl records hanging up behind me. I have long black hair today, and I'm a black woman with a dark and warm skin tone. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're seasoned here, it's nice to see you again. I've been in the learning and development industry for over 13 years, and I've contracted for some of the largest companies in tech. I love learning and I love teaching. I've experienced so much of my own loss in life, from losing my mom at age 13 to my best friend passing away and going through a divorce all at the age of 26. I understand the importance of developing genuine friendships as a result. All of these experiences and lessons birth what you see now as Cracked Friendship Code. On our show, you're going to hear from myself and other women who have achieved success in different levels of their lives, whether it be career, business, or passions. Along the way, we have all discovered the importance of aligning our friendships with our purpose. And our hopes are that you too can ignite purpose aligned friendships and have more meaningful and genuine friendships. And with that, let me introduce today's guest. Every woman who is on our show is nothing short of amazing and wildly successful, and Jasmine is no different. Jasmine is a director of sales with over 10 years of experience in the technology industry. She's proud of her track record in driving revenue growth and building strategic partnerships in highly competitive markets. She's passionate about achieving exceptional results and thriving in dynamic, trend-oriented commercial landscapes. And her ability to seamlessly integrate tactical brand partnerships, employ flexible business approaches, and enhance mutual B2B relationships has consistently propelled sales figures beyond expectations. To Jasmine, sales leadership is all about leveraging well-cultivated skills and experiences to drive success, and she is committed to delivering top-tier results, and she's always eager to take on new challenges. Welcome, Jasmine.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. And that intro was like, ooh, it was amazing.
That was you.
Thank you for thank you for that. I am Jasmine Wheeler. My pronouns are she, her, and yeah, she and her. And I am seated against, I guess, a blurry background on Zoom. I have on orange today, very vibrant color. I am a Black woman. My skin tone, if I had to describe it, is more caramel. And I'm excited to be here today. Thank you so much.
I'm excited to have you. I know I read that really like super intense bio about Jasmine, like highlighting, your success and achievements. But beyond that too, she's also one of my real life besties. So just so you guys know, there's some warmth, some connection here. And she's really successful in other ways, but she's also very I would say passionate and grounded and just spiritually like connected. And so I just want to make sure we highlight like that part too. So anyway, thanks for being here, Jasmine. Um, okay, let's hop right into it. So we talked about a little bit about your career and some of the things that you've done. But I've noticed that career and purpose are often mistaken as synonymous, but it's not always career itself that lends to our purpose, but maybe it's just like the vessel that allows us to, live out some of the things in our purpose. And so for you, what would you say your purpose is?
This is a really great question. I feel like for a long time I have like tried searching for my purpose, like as something outside of myself and who I am and what I do on a day-to-day basis. And I've come to realize that my purpose is to love myself unconditionally, and then in turn love others unconditionally and teach them how to do that. So that may sound a little cliche, but that's what I truly believe my purpose is.
No, not cliche at all. I think that's incredible. Loving people unconditionally is one of the hardest things for people to do, because it's funny, we want to be loved unconditionally, but yet, allowing ourselves to love someone unconditionally is very challenging, because we think that means no boundaries. We think that means, unlimited access, but it doesn't necessarily mean those things, right? So I think what your purpose is something that a lot of people can aspire to. Um, Okay, so for you on your journey of discovering that this was your purpose, what were some of the mindsets or limiting beliefs that you felt like you had to let go of?
Ooh, that's an even greater like follow-up question. Mindsets that I had to let go of, I would definitely say, I feel like a lot of times we like try to put the focus on other people and you know, when we're doing the work, right? Like trying to better ourselves and all of those great things. But something that I really had to let go of is like what I felt like other people should be doing and should not be doing, and just like turn all of that energy and focus inward. And that's been like one of the hardest things because, a lot of times you want things more for people than what they want for themselves. But it's honestly been once I've like leaned into like just letting go and really focusing on being the best Jasmine that I can absolutely be on a day-to-day basis, I have a sense of freedom. Yes, I still want the best for my friends. I still want the best for my loved ones. However, I can't want that more than what they want for themselves. I would say another mindset or that I had to let go of is just like um, realizing that everyone is in your life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. Sorry, a season, reason, or a lifetime. And so like being able to differentiate like where people belong has been like something that I have had a challenge with, right? Because especially if like I've had lifelong friendships, like lifelong, like literally childhood. And so like once you get to a certain point and those friends no longer serve you or where you're trying to go or elevate, you have to kind of either let them go or maybe you only hang out with them or as opposed to like telling them your hopes and dreams and your aspirations for the future. So those are just a few things.
That's really good. I especially like the part when you talked about expectations, like, that you have of others, and the only person that you can really, like, really truly expect anything from is yourself, because, you can't control other people's behaviors or actions, but we can control our own. So I really like that you said that. Um, Also letting go of some of those longer term friendships that don't serve you anymore, because again, like, people would assume that if you're unconditionally loving someone, that means you're constantly around them. No, that just means you've shifted your boundaries, you've shifted your own personal expectations for yourself and how you engage with them. So yeah, you're speaking our language right here at the Crack the Friendship Code tribe, because we're all about putting people in the categories that they belong in our lives. And that doesn't mean you tell them what categories they're in. You just adjust yourself accordingly.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so once you parted away with some of those friendships that, were no longer serving you, what was that impact like on your life?
Um, Honestly, it was hard. I don't think people talk about that enough. Like, losing friendships is extremely hard. Like, I definitely went through like a grieving process, the same as if, I would go through like with a romantic relationship that ended.
Mhm.
Especially like they're like decades, sometimes 2 decades, friendships. And so it was hard, like extremely hard. And from time to time I still think about those friendships and the things that we've did together. And, it's like you kind of have like a internal memorial for those friendships. So it's definitely not something that was easy for me to cope with initially.
Yeah, I've always said this, and like, you guys read my background earlier about losing my mom, my best friend, and I've always said that, like, death is a little bit easier than breakups, because with death it's final, right? Like, they're not coming back, like, that where they are, what's going on, like, they're gone, But when it comes to like breakups with friends, romance, like, all that stuff is really hard because people are still alive, they're still walking around, still breathing, and it's like, but the relationship is over. So I feel like they're a little bit more challenging and we don't talk about it enough. But it is like somewhat like a death, but they're still alive. So it's weird?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is that, like, with similarly to death, you have to kind of come to terms with your own feelings about the relationship you had with that person when they were alive. And I think that's why it's so difficult when, someone's still walking around and it's a breakup, because you want to try to work those emotions out with them, but you can't necessarily get that opportunity. Just because you want to get closure doesn't mean someone else is going to be. So you're sitting with your feelings on your own, but still alive, and you want to work it out. So I don't know, it's a little bit difficult to deal with those types of breakups.
I agree like 100% for
Yeah.
sure.
But let me ask you a question and like kind of follow up to this. What would have been the impact had you have stayed in some of those, friendships and not broken up?
Um, I feel like I was starting to become I feel like I would have been really stagnant, you know? I feel like I wouldn't have gotten to the place that I am right now. Like, in terms of like internal growth, personal growth, professional, like I feel like I would have been very stagnant, for
Mhm.
sure.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. That was a difficult question, Jasmine. I didn't ask anybody else that one, so shout outs to you. But it just felt right. So okay, you talked about, learning how to put people in their different lanes and things like that. Were there any other types of friendship beliefs or norms that you maybe had to break up with during that time too?
Um, I would say the biggest one is, I think I touched on this a little bit, is like a lot of times people say that they want things, they want change, they want a different life, they want to um, just show up differently in the world.
Hmm.
And it sounds great. Like it sounds amazing. However, you know, when there's no action, there's no change, there's no pivot,
Yeah.
there's really nothing that the person is actually doing to move in the direction towards, their higher self, their highest destiny. Um, that's something that, I really had to come to terms with because I would do the most, right? If my friend, I had a friend that was really interested in getting like her credit together and she would talk about it all the time. Like she wants to fix her credit, all these things. So for her birthday, like I was like really torn if I should like get her this like credit fixing course and all that stuff. However, she hadn't really done anything on her own. Like we had just talked about it. So I ended up just like buying her like 2 books for her birthday on like fixing credit. Super easy reads, like
Hmm.
stuff that you could literally do on your own. You don't have to hire like a credit repair firm or anything like that. And I would say maybe like 6 months after, like I was just like, she talked about her credit again, like, oh, I really want to fix my credit. And I asked her, I was like, hey, did you ever check out the books that, I gave you and, for your birthday? She's like, oh no, I haven't read them. So that was just like, man, like it's just like a lot of people say that they want things, but it's like really like, are you really do you really want what you say you want? Or is it just the idea that you're like fascinated with? So, and I've been
Hmm.
there before. I've said that I wanted things and you know, procrastinated and just didn't show up in the way that I should have in order to like have the change that I wanted. So yeah.
Hmm. That's really true. Yeah, looking at people's actions and their words, are they aligning? Yeah, that's a big one because I think we hear all the time, oh, actions speak louder than words, and that's really not true. Like there has to be some alignment in words and actions. And energy, I think, is another one that we learn, alignment between energy, words, and actions. So I agree with that. Yeah, that's a hard one because you want the best for people and you hear them talking, you're like, okay, like let's do this, but then you don't see the results and you're like, oh, okay, so maybe this person is not someone that I can continue to spend time with, because then we
Yeah.
start doing the same things. We want to fix this and then we don't do anything about it you know
Or just like, if they bring it up, like maybe change the subject or like, hey,
Mhm.
like, or just not even entertain that or bring it up at all because it's like, well, you're not really serious. So,
Yeah.
and I know sometimes like you may, if it's like a new idea, a radical like idea or shift, like
Mhm.
mindset shift, it may take some time to like kind of gravitate towards. But like if there's like nothing being done,
Yeah,
it's like there's nothing that you can do because they don't want it that
that's
bad,
true. That's very true. Yeah, you can't want something more for someone else than they do for themselves. It's so true.
Yeah.
I had a coach that he would refer to it as like your BS, like your belief system. And so when someone is caught up in their own BS, like sometimes it can be really hard to get out of. And so our belief systems sometimes need like a little bit of reprogramming. It's like we talk about it, but nothing's happening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, so what friendships or were there any friendships that like positively impacted your journey? And tell us about what made those friendships so like purposeful.
Yeah, there's so many. Ours included. Um, I would say, I guess the reoccurring theme that have made my the friendships that have really impacted me in a positive way have been like acceptance,
Mm,
like pure acceptance, like for where I am at the stage that I'm at in my life, and also giving me the room to grow and expand and change and evolve and accepting me
yeah,
at that phase as well. So I feel like acceptance.
that's so
Ex-
pure. Yeah, that's so pure. It's like, yeah, it's acceptance. Yeah, I think that's a good common theme. But you know what I like and what I've kind of, I guess, gleaned from hearing you talk is that it's acceptance and it's still like challenging you based on what you said that you wanted to do. You know, it's like a duality. It's not just acceptance, but we're not gonna grow or do anything. Like, you know, like I feel like there's a duality there, and I really appreciate that from just what I've heard you say so far today.
yeah. Yeah. And you know, sometimes people are not, and I've been there where I'm not like necessarily, I haven't been necessarily ready. Like I know that there's this thing that I need to do, but I'm just not ready to like do it. And
Yeah.
so having people in your corner that understand that you're not there yet and just give you kind of like the space to like grow into that for whatever reason, whatever hurdle, mental block you may like be currently like working through, I think is extremely valuable. And I guess there's also like having to be able to having the ability to be able to like I guess have the discernment like, hey, I know that Jasmine is, you know, working towards doing this, but she's just not there yet. So I'm just going to like leave her be in this area and we'll come back around when she's ready to talk about it versus she wants to do it, but she's not doing anything to
Hmm.
like, you know? So I
Yeah.
feel like it's kind of like a thin line with those two.
But you know the difference though. Like you know the difference. I
Yeah.
think the biggest thing that I could say that characterizes the difference is that one sounds like complaining about where you're at and not doing anything about it. The other is wanting to do something about it, just churning your wheels a little bit. You know, like I think that's where the fine line is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree.
Yeah, because you know when somebody's kind of you know, just talking and they're upset. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so this is it's your turn. This is always my favorite slash like part of the episode, but it's your opportunity to ask me any friendship related question that you may have or you want a different perspective on.
Mm, this is a really good one. Um, I feel like let me pick one. So this is a long story, but I'm going to like condense it. So I had a friend that was amazing. We instantly connected. She actually we met from her doing my hair. You know, over the course of the last few years, we've grown to be, you know, relatively close.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I've opened up my home and she stayed at my house a few times. We've hung out, you know, shared very personal things with each other. Um, it got to the point where she was at my house one week. I had another friend coming into town and, you know, I let my friend know. And for whatever reason, her and that friend, I mean, she just did not connect with that person, which I understand. Like, you're not going to connect with every soul that you come in contact with, or have a deep connection with them. And so, um, for whatever reason, she just didn't connect with her. She mentioned that my friend told her something, and I wasn't around when this happened. You know, my friend picked up on her energy and asked me if everything was okay. I tried to get them to talk, they didn't want to talk. Or sorry, my friend didn't want to talk about what she felt like my friend told her. And then the energy in my home was just really weird. Like I'm really big on like vibes
Mhm.
and it was just so off. And I really pushed and tried to get my friend to, you know, have this conversation just because we're kind of living, you know, we're living in like close quarters. It's like four of us in the same place and, you
Yeah.
know, would really just want to have a great time. My friend she's a teacher, so she was actually, you know, on vacation with her son and I just wanted it to be like a great experience for them, for everybody. My friend didn't want to talk, and it just ended up escalating. We ended up going to bed one night, and my friend was a little upset. The next morning, she addressed me, and it just kind of escalated. It just kind of just kept escalating. And my friend was, mind you, here with her son. And it just got to the point where, like, she got really upset. I kept like kind of pushing because I was just so like frustrated at this point because I felt like I had done everything that I could to like accommodate her, try to be accommodating to everyone. And, she just was refusing to like have the conversation. So then, it just escalated. She started cursing, calling me on my name. And then, I kind of lost it at that point, and, she told me she was going to leave. And I'm like, I think that would be a great idea. And then once she started calling me on my name, I was like, okay, like, you can know you're no longer like, welcome in my home, right? Like, you have to leave now. So I started taking her stuff, placing it gently outside of my um gently outside of my door. Like, I wanted her to hurry up and get out. And, she ended up calling the police because she left like a curl and iron in my house. And I was looking for it, but I couldn't find it. And I ended up calling the police as well, just to like protect myself because she wasn't really like telling the whole story. The police ended up coming, asked me to like block her. She was like not allowed to come to my apartment anymore. And it was really hurtful because it just like went from like 0 to 1,000. But if I'm honest, there have been signs before, and I just kind of like
Uh,
persevered through. So like, I guess my question would be like, I don't know, like, how would you have handled that differently? Like, would you have maybe not tried to push for the conversation? Because this was someone that I thought was really close to me. When she was calling me out of my name and she was like throwing that I had shared with her in confidence, which was really hurtful. Um, so yeah, it was a really wild situation that occurred in my
yeah.
home.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
knowing how peaceful you are, one, like, I think it would kind of be the expectation that, well, okay, to me personally, if two people aren't getting along and there's no obvious like reasons, then I think it's fair to push for a conversation, especially if everybody's under the same household. It's making people uncomfortable. Like, I think that's fair to accept a certain type of energy in your home. So I personally still would have like pushed for them to have a conversation because even if somebody's not saying anything, their energy is still like walking around with them.
Screaming, like literally. I mean, she would
Yeah.
say hi when they would come into the room and everything, but other than that, she'd be quiet. Even her son was like, "Is she okay? Like, she's not talking." And
Hmm.
I just, yeah, I just felt incredibly responsible, and I felt bad, because this all happened in my house, and
Yeah.
I just didn't expect it to go left like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we ever expected when we bring friends together, but your friend who was staying with you before your other friend came to town was in a vulnerable place, not being able to work at the time, like all those things
Yeah.
do add up. Um, but still, like there's a certain level of respect that goes into it. There's a certain level of energy. Like even if you're not saying anything, your energy walks in before you do. I kind of
Yes.
had this this roommate in college, my first year of college, and I just remember coming in and the night before she had been on some drugs that I was like, I don't even know like what to do for you. And so the next day I let it alone, but the next day I said, hey, like, I don't know what to do for you if something happens when you're on something like this because I have no concept of this. And when I was telling her this, when I tell you, I felt like somebody like was reaching in my back and twisting my spine, and I was like, "Ooh, that is not good energy." I'm having this conversation with her, but some is it's not good here. And so people's energy walks in before they even like, say anything or do anything. And so I think it's reasonable to ask for that in your home, especially when you're allowing someone to stay with you. But to your point. you saw signs before, and we've all overlooked red flags when it comes to friendship, especially when it comes to friendships. Actually, we're like more forgiving with our friends for some reason than any other relationships. And I think it has something to do with the familial connection because of how our familial relationships are. And there's a lot of us who, definitely allow a lot from our familial relationships. Um, but in our friendships, sometimes we do tend to like take on more. So definitely like not ignoring the red flags, but I can't say that like I would have done it any differently because I've ignored red flags in friendships like plenty of times, and proceeded anyway. You know what I mean? I think with this new level of awareness, though, I would have created some more boundaries around the friendship, and around some of those parameters and expectations of my home, knowing now like what I know now, about energy and about just what I expect when I bring people together, especially under my roof, Out there in the world, if we go do something together, that's on y'all how you behave. But in my home, like I expect this. And
Yeah.
so you don't have to be besties, but like check your energy, like get yourself right, like mentally fix whatever's going on over there because it's slipping out. But I don't really
Yeah.
think at the time there was really anything you could have done differently. Just maybe in the past, not ignoring some of the red flags or expounding on the red flags and doubling down and asking questions, more about some of the red flags that you saw come up. But from you telling me the story previously to me telling me again, I really don't think there's anything that you could have done differently other than like not avoiding the red flags or not ignoring them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I I wish her well, and that's all I can do really. But yeah, thank you for your insight on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Friendships are difficult, but we will learn from our stuff and I think especially sometimes I think okay, this is for everybody listening too. When we sometimes think about resolving situations with people, we have to remember not to think about things from our own like logic or rationale. Like Jasmine, you're very peaceful, calm. I can't see you escalating unless you're like severely pushed to that point. And so
I'm an Aries, so yes, I could definitely I
yeah,
could
you can
definitely take it
go, but like yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. You can go there, but like it takes a lot. Like same here. It takes me a lot. So if you find me out there cussing somebody out, like something happened, like something really went down. But
Yeah.
we can't rationalize with crazy. So like I remember when I was a resident assistant on campus, our boss at the time told us, if somebody's drunk, don't try to reason with them because they're not in their right mind. And it's the same thing with us and other people. Like we're reasoning from two different dispositions. And so unless we understand their disposition, it's going to be really hard to like reason with them. And sometimes we just can't reason with certain people. And that's
Yeah.
okay because we're not in the same type of energy or mental space.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for being on today. This was awesome. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you for having me, and I'd be happy to come back whenever. So,
yeah, absolutely. Bye, y'all.